Okay, good morning, everybody, for the third day of our course and second day of our HPC introduction. For the last few days, we've been learning or maybe reminding ourselves some knowledge that we need when we're using the HPC systems. On the first day, we tried to learn some Unix, some basic Unix that we need. And then on the yesterday, we managed to log into one of the HPC clusters and submit our first job. And then we ended the day with a demonstration on how to transfer files back and forth. Today, we will start with accessing the software. Just a reminder for those who may be joining today as new learners. The main place where the communication happens is this HDoc document. That will be on the Zoom chat as well, and also in the email that Danya sent. Because of some technical reasons, the link Danya sent was not used, but when you visit that link, you'll be redirected to this page.
Okay, so, and a message was sent yesterday with the new link, Sabry. So the yesterday's email link should work, but the old link is redirect. You can redirect that old link to the new one. So, yeah.
Okay. So when you arrive at this page, click the pencil icon to edit. And this eye icon to see to view go to the view mode. So I recommend at least everybody click the pencil icon at least once, so the page would be properly refreshed. It's highly recommended that you use this document for the communication with us, not the Zoom chat or open mic, because of we are recording the sessions. So when we record the sessions, it might be a good idea that you switch off the camera so you don't accidentally be on some recording. And also, we have a code of conduct, which is be polite, be nice to each other, be considerate. So let's start the course then. We have icebreaker question, mainly to get things started, and also to know that you can edit the HDoc document, our shared document. Which software would you like to run on HPC machines? Is the question we have. So we see that answers are coming up. Let's wait a minute for people to log in and set this up. Maybe arrange the screen so they can see our video and also the HDoc. Oh, parallel ice sheet model. So, Radwan, you are a Rust person, yes? You do use Rust on HPC?
Well, I thought this was anonymous here. but yeah, that was me.
Sorry. Yes. So keep on things coming. We'll start the session very slowly. If you go to the second day, I'll be starting with this the access software session with Bjørn from Trondheim. So we learned and we discussed a lot about how we use a shared resource yesterday, which means that there might be people with multiple requirements, with multiple needs of software, sharing the same system. If we dig a little deeper, different people might want different versions of the software as well. If you take a Python example, someone might want Python 3.5.2, and another person might need 3.6.1. And if you are using bioinformatics tools, different versions of BLAST or different versions of WASP or other chemistry software. So how would we accommodate all these versions on the same computer? So that is the task today. So on a shared resource, how do we provision? How would we provide you the software? Different versions of the same software, different software that might conflict with each other, software that has dependencies, how we provide the dependencies, how do we provide the dependencies without conflicting with other software. That we will show you how it is. First, I'm going to log into Saga. And the first I'll be doing the demonstrations. When I expect you to type with me, I will tell you. So I log into Saga, and for my convenience, I'm going to create a folder so I can come back here later on. This is the Unix knowledge we learned. Change to that directory. I'll keep things here. So I'm on Saga. So when you log into Saga, if you want to use Python, I will ask version of the Python. So when I asked Python version, it printed me 2.7.5. And then if I ask Python 3 version, it provides me 3.6.8. So there are two versions of Python that's already installed on Saga. If I want R is not there, but we know that people use R on computers. So there might be software already installed, some fixed version, and there might be software that not at your disposal when you log in for the first time. So in order to understand this, how this loading works, we have to understand a variable called the path. So it stores some information in this variable path. So this path is where the terminal finds the software. To understand that a little bit, so we asked Python, which Python 3, which Python 3. So the commands are already given on the tutorial. And also, let me have this history, a little bit more history for you. Yeah. So the Python, the terminal at the current point, it found the Python that's installed on user/bin. So if you look at the path variable, user/bin is there. So this path variable is the variable that stores where to locate the software from. If you had another Python version on user local bin, for example, that will be that will get dominance, that will be prioritized. So if you have a path, the path, but the path variable prints, the order matters. So when you ask Python version or which Python, or when you start Python, it will look at the first path that is in the path variable, and the second one, and so on and so forth. So the way we have multiple versions of the Python is by prioritizing this order. So for that, we use something called modules. So that is the basic introduction given here. Next is an exercise that we are not going to do as an exercise, because later on we have an exercise scheduled. But I'm going to demonstrate something that's important in this exercise itself. In this folder, let's say if I have a, so don't type along. So just watch, because this is not. We will come to the point when you can try things. Let's say if I have a file called Python 3 here on my the folder I'm working on. You learned yesterday that the way we define with the way we tell the terminal what kind of scripting language it is with the first line. So I have this my own fake Python on my the current folder. I'm going to make it executable. You can see that. The reason I'm showing is later on we'll loading modules, and you ask what Python version it is. Although you have a Python 3 on your current folder, it will not recognize that, because as I showed you before, this is the path that look for Python, and our current path is not there. But if you want to run that, for example, when you're submitting a job and there's an executable with the same name as something already there in the system, you would have to do something like this, /. Then the system will recognize that you have to run something in your submit folder, or the folder you mean, not from the path. Bjørn, do you think that makes sense what we discuss here? Do you have anything to add? I think Bjørn, your mic is mute.
No, I think you covered what's happening with the path.
Yes. So how do you think that without this dot, how would you do you use that when you run programs? Do you expect your job to find programs in your submit folder, or how do you set the path?
I mostly use what you wrote now last time, the /Python 3. So
okay. If you have other methods, if you have other ideas about this, you could type here. So I want you to now type with me a little bit. I log into Saga. So I'll pause 1 minute and try the Python version that if you see the same as me. So the way I did was, first I ask which Python. That is find out where my Python is, and then I check my path to understand how this loading works. The reason I want you to check this now is some people might have some customizations in their login scripts. So when we later on loading modules, please double check that you, if you don't get the same results, you could check this against what you see. One thing that could happen is if you have something like Conda as the first thing, you might not exactly get the results I get. So it is good that you always check your path like this. Sorry. When we do the next, when you go to the next part of environmental modules. So type a little with me and see whether you can. So if I want to run something on my current folder, I would do something like. I'm pausing for another 1 minute just for it to log in and have a look and maybe give some feedback on the chat to say how you run software, or how do you customize your path, or how to customize the path, and so on and so forth. Okay. Then we move on to the pro stuff. That is this the module system. So here we can provide more customization to the path, so we can accommodate even more versions. We have this module path system, module system called I forgot the name now. TL. So one module system that we commonly used on HP system is TCL, and we use LMOD. But this path you don't need to worry much about. What you should understand is there's a command called module that will help you to switch between versions, load specific versions, mix versions, and do things like that. So if you use the command module list here, now you could also try with me when I try these things. This will load, this will print the, let me make this a little bit more wider. The module list command prints the current setup. What are the modules currently loaded and will be available when you submit a job, unless you clear the modules already loaded, as we see in a moment. So this is best practice, that you have your module list blank like this when you log into Saga. Some people do load as default. I will not show you how now, because it's better that you don't do it. The reason is, if you load modules by default every time, and in your job script, if you don't reset that, those modules will also be propagated to your job script. So, for example, if you set up your Saga login to load Python 3.6.9 every time you log in, and in your job, if you are calling Python 3.7, then when you submit the job, if you don't clear your default, what is loaded by default, it will conflict. It'll conflict when the job is submitted. So when the job try to load the module, it will already find something loaded. Then it can't load. So best practice is have it clear, unless you are doing loading the same software over and over again, and there might be some specific cases. But try to make this blank. That's easy for you, and also for us to provide support, because we expect when you say something not right with the job, we expect that you are not have anything in the default loaded at the first instance. But if we see there's a suspicion, if there's some suspicion, we'll go and investigate. So that's easier for us to debug as well. Then we have the keywords. For example, module, I'm going to type, I'm going to find out what are the bioinformatics modules that we have. You could try your field, chemistry, physics, for example. For bio, so it will print a lot. So many. So I'm going to use the command that we learned, the grep, the head command, to print only the first 10 lines. So you see that there are so many modules that are related to the Augustus and assemblies, how to assemble Abyss sequence assembling and mRNA analysis related software. So see, you could also type and see whether you see the software that you're interested in. If you find, if you are looking for, I don't know, climate analysis or something. So those sort of tags might not be there. So you have to find out what tags that you could use in order to find the specific software they're looking for. Let me check the time a little bit. And then another way to look for software is the module avail command. Here, they have used the module avail command without any arguments, which will print everything. So now HPC system, we have so many modules. So if I just type this, it will print so many things. You could try that. As before, I'm going to try that as well. As you see, we can use the we could be more we could refine this search a little bit. Let's say if you are looking for Python 3, a version of Python 3, I would rather use this one rather than going and looking through this entire list, or maybe use a command like grep or Python. That's also overwhelming, but the module avail command provide a better way to refine this as this. So it will give a more refined list of what you're actually looking for. So here it says given certain Python versions and also some Python related, some other software with the name Python in it. So Bjørn, how do you look for software? Do you use module avail like this, or you do the module avail like this and grep, or do you use the module keyword? What is your preferred?
The module avail. And
module
then,
avail, yes.
And then with the keyword.
With the keyword.
Mm-hmm.
If I look for something like R, let's say if I have any R4 versions, it will print like this. So you could use this to find out what you want. But there's another command called module spider, which is we could use as well, but we have not mentioned this in the teaching material, because with the module avail, you could learning less things is learning a lot about less things is better than learning a little bit about a lot more things. So you are free to explore. So if you are using something like spider, then please mention that in the HackMD and we can discuss that if it is of interest. For finding modules, you could use the keyword or avail with the with some filtering parameter, filtering key like Python 3 or R or BLAST, for example, or WASP. You could try those things. Then I'm going to take away this type with me part, and I'm going to go further a little down to show you something before you type in. Now we have learned, so I'm going to show you first. We know that now Python 3, what was that, 3.6, or I misspelled it. 3.6.8. Let's say you want 3.9.6. The way you do that, you ask the module system, module load Python 3.6.9, and the whole part of this, you have to be, wait, I have an auto completion going on. 9 and this whole part. So you have to be very specific. Now, if I ask Python 3 version, it will give you 3.9.6. And if I ask which Python 3, it will give me where it's loading from. So Bjørn, can you, so what do you think about the path variable? Now, what would have been happened to the path variable now?
Now you have new directories added in front of the former path variable.
Yes, now it looks, there are a lot more things going on. And as you can see, this place where the Python 3 is loading now, if I go and have a look there are a lot of things, but this was not there in the path before. If I have the echo path again, you see that this has come to the first place. So this has got priority. And the user bin is somewhere later. I can't even see that, yes. Yeah. So it comes later. So according to our rule of priority in paths, the Python of the loaded module will be loaded. So module will be used. And if I use the module list now, it will show me that Python 3 is not loaded. In addition, all the dependencies are loaded as well. So it's very important that you load all these dependencies alongside, especially the compilers and the tool chains with the compilers. The reason is there might be binaries involved that are compiled against a certain version of a compiler. And if that compiler is not loaded, if only the main software is loaded, then what will happen is you'll probably see some glibc error or something. It will not work. So you have to have the complete set loaded. Now go ahead and try yourself. The next thing I'm going to do with me.
Could I ask a question, Sabry?
Please, Maiken.
When you say make sure that you load the dependencies, maybe do you mean that you should yourself load them, or do you mean let the system load them for you and be sure not to unload them?
Yeah, so it's a very good clarification, Maiken. So when you do the module load, this command, it loads Python 3.96 and all the dependencies needed. So you don't have to do explicitly anything. And it's better that you don't meddle with that either. So the advice is don't meddle with what's loaded already. So let the module command handle it. Give me a second. Yes. So then, so we're going to try together now some loading. If you are not interested in this BLAST software, sorry about it. But for example, we learn this, and then you can go for your software, or you could also try your favorite software instead. First thing when you're loading a module is to make sure that module list does not print anything loaded. Module list should not print something like this. It should be module. You have to purge it. The command is module purge to clear whatever it's loaded. So when you are trying it on your terminal, do the module purge and make sure that module list does not print anything before you loading this BLAST module. So to follow the instructions that the tutorial that we have made, I'm going to load that module. But we have newer versions of BLAST already, but I'm going to follow this so we can follow each other easily. Now it is loaded. There was no indication of anything happened, but module list would print everything that is loaded. Oh, sorry. Bjørn, you didn't mention that I was making a mistake.
No, I didn't notice that either.
Yes, so I'm going to module purge again, and I'm going to load again, and I'll tell you what the mistake was after this step. So you have to load the module. And okay, so did you remove that? Let's ask from the system. Module list. Module avail blast plus. So if you're trying to load something, and if you get an error, something like this, following modules are unknown. Let's see, 2020A with Go MPI. Yes, let's try to load it. Maybe I did a typo. Module load. Yes, there might be some typo when I. No, it is a newer version. Okay. Try to load this version instead. Try if you copy paste this. If it doesn't work, you could use the knowledge that we have with the module avail plus, and then load this one version you have. 28. Yeah, we'll check why is it why did not load it. Okay, so there might be some change in the modules, which actually
it was you had the 2.11.0 Gompi you asked for, but there's just the 2.10 Gompi.
Okay, so it has been a new tool chain, but once you have a module, it's for reproducibility purposes. We don't retire or remove modules, but maybe there was some big error that we had to remove it, or maybe some other issue. But try the module avail command with the blast and load one of these. So it will work with any of the modules. We're just going to demonstrate what is it about. Then module list will print a lot of modules that's already loaded. Then what's demonstrated is that the thing I did wrong before is if you also the point Michael raised, that what if you want to remove one of these modules that's loaded? So instead of load, you would say unload. So before loading, you cannot unload. So you have to load first, then you unload it. But beyond now, what do you think this? Do you think all the dependencies are gone, or it's only that module is removed?
No, all the dependencies are gone.
Are you sure?
I'm guessing.
Okay. It's not.
It's
so
not.
only the 80 the one you unloading is gone. So if you want to remove that, everything loaded, is to use module purge. So module the lesson from this part is module load unload does not clear your environment, but only the specific module that you say unload. Be careful when you're doing that.
A question?
Yes.
Is there a possibility to unload a module with its dependencies and not other modules that you've loaded that have other dependencies?
Now you're asking a difficult question, Maiken.
Okay.
I don't know, but if you do the module purge, it'll clear. But there might be some option for unload. If you ask the module command, for example, it might have it. So
yeah, then it's not, that doesn't matter. The cleanest
yes.
Then is just module purge and start again.
Yes. Yes. So what you can do is, that's a good question. We'll place that as an answer in the HackMD at some point. But keep in mind, by unload default, don't expect your path to be clean. And then there's this the tool chains. I will use the blast example. Maiken said that I was trying to load Go MPI, and what we have is the Go MPI. So this is we call the tool chain. That is the compiler and all the Fourier transforms and everything that is needed as a package. You don't need to understand a lot about this, but you should know that first chain is a free and open source tool chain with all the open source compilers. And Go MPI is an open source version of the compilers and other accompanying libraries, and plus MPI, Open MPI. And the other flavor is the Intel. So Intel and FOSS are the main tool chains that we talk interchangeably. So Bjørn, do you use Intel version or the Go MPI? The FOSS free version, open source version?
I try to use for the FOSS version, but sometimes I'm forced to use the Intel.
Okay. Then we'll see how to use this in a module. A job script. Module list. And then I'm going to create this job script here. So just watch that, so you can do this during your exercises. So you don't need to type along. I'm going to create this file Python. By the way, sorry, I have been using Vim. I see that for a while. But if you're using Nano, please use Nano or any other editor. So the editor doesn't matter what editor you use. I should Nano just to make sure that I don't confuse people. Yeah, I'm going to paste this, make sure the script is correct. I'm missing a hash. So it's subscript with 1 node, 1 minute, and the project name was.
You're missing the hash from in front of the SPatch commands as well.
Oh, yeah, very good. Thank you. Thank you for noticing it. As being Nano, I have to do it for each line. That's a good way to sort of confirm our knowledge about how we specify things. Was it NN9984K? Was it correct?
Yes, yes.
And then print Python version. Control O, enter, Control X out. So it looked like this. So this is the script I created. So if I print Python version, it prints 2.73 and Python 3 is this. Then I'm going to submit this job. The way I submit the job is S-batch. So I'm going to ask Slurm to take it to the compute nodes and execute it and do the necessary things and give me the results. So that's running. Then SQ, print me the jobs for me. Okay, it's finished already. Let's see the job file. Let's learn how to rename the job file. If you are not done that, then it will be the default name. And the 2. As you can see, the version printed is 396, which is not the one that is on the terminal. No, by default, but it's loaded. So the path would have been set and it would have been loaded. So what we do now is go for the exercise. In the exercise, try to find R. So what versions of R is available, and use the same commands like which and echo path to investigate how it is now. And then try to load a version, and then try to, as the last thing, try to find another software that matches that. So here in this example, it's Ruby. So when you when you're matching means that you have to match this tool chain. So if you want the software that's can be run together, you have to match this tool chain. Maybe I can demonstrate one thing. Oops, module.
Did you explain what toolchain is, Sabry, or I might have missed it?
I said something about open source toolchains and Intel toolchains moments ago.
Okay, sorry.
But please discuss that in the chat, on the HackMD, or during your room if you want more details. So as you can see, and maybe Python 3. Python, oops. If I load, let's say something 11.3. Okay, so then I will load this version of BLAST. And after loading that version, if I ask module list, after loading this module, if I ask module list, I see that it is 10.3. That is the use GCC. Do you have 10.3 here? I have the 10.3, but instead of you loading that, let's say if I try to load a newer version. Module list to show you module load. I showed you the module list. If you try to load that, it will say that there's a conflict going on. So you're trying to use two different tool chains. But if you try to use, which is a good thing actually. So if you mix it, it might cause very hard to debug errors. But if you use this one, it will load without that error. So that is what they say about this. So discuss that and go ahead. So exercise, so our exercise leaders and our learners, what we should do is try to find out, log into Saga, try to find out what R versions are there and load an R version and find a compatible Ruby version to load with. And if you have enough time, try to submit a job printing these versions as well. Is that clear, Bjørn, or do you want more description of what we expect?
I think that is clear.
Yeah. So, Dania, do we take the break now and come back for the exercise, or first the exercise?
Maybe we could go to the exercise first and then break, come back to the main room. And do you want to summarize after the exercise, Sabry?
Okay.
Yeah, by now, Sabry, you can continue.
Okay, welcome back. So I guess you had a first-hand experience on how to load these modules and maybe even how to load it in a job as well. So I don't see any big issues that we have to address now on that way in HackMD. One thing though is that what is this tool chain? So I had loaded this module. If you remember, maybe Python, what module did I use? I'm using my up arrow key to navigate and to get previous commands, so I don't have to type it again. So you have your Python, and what are all these things? And what is this? So the up to 13, maybe I mentioned it, maybe not that clear. It was that those are dependencies. So this Python might have some libraries, Python packages. When you install them, you might need some of them. So there's a slight difference between if you're working on a Windows computer. If you use pip, it will download a precompiled library from the pp.org, the Python repository, and it will be very quick. But if you try some of those pip install commands, even sometimes pip install numpy, it will get the source code and compile it on Saga or other HPC system you try, because not all software are available for the architecture and the Unix version, all Unix versions. So some package need to be compiled. In addition, there are components of the Python which are compiled against these dependencies. It's a set of development tools that you need in order to have this compiled in the sense that to convert this code into a machine understandable version. So this GCC is the main, like if you write something on C, for example, you need this GCC, which is a compiler which converts the code you type in C with English characters in order to something the computer understand, in addition, in an optimized way, right? So these are set of development tools. And when you have the FOSS and the Intel tool chains that we mentioned before, in addition to these compilers, you have a set of development tools that are loaded alongside. The very basic thing that you need to understand when loading modules is that you have to have this tail compatible when you have multiple modules. One thing that could be difficult in the beginning would be to identify what would match FOSS 2018. How do you match this? So this is only the basic compilers given here. Here, entire set of development tools, including the GCC is included. So this is more and this is less. So the trick is to load the more first. Let's say if I load this one, which is also compiled to work on GPUs. Module purge, module load, and when you load this module, you would see which version of the GCC compiler is loaded according to alongside. So this is a very lightweight process. You can load and unload. So here it says GCC 7.3. So if you don't have the full tool chain, but you have to match something with part of the tool chain, which is only the compiler, the best way to know is load the full tool chain version and see which compiler is loading alongside. That is all I want to mention. I think next, is there any other question from our colleagues or clarifications that we should?
I have a comment to make, Sabry.
Yes.
My comment is that people sometimes think it's a good idea to put the module load inside their login script, like the patch profile, etc. So it will be loaded each time you log in. That sounds like a very good idea until 3 years later, you have forgotten what you put in there and you have a lot of strange errors popping up. And it's a bit time consuming for the support staff to help you with that. So best practice is not to put anything into the login shell or the login scripts when you log in, because it tends to spark off a lot of errors in the future when you forget that you have something in there. While it looks like smart, it's not really smart. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Ella. Thank you for reiterating that point. Make sure that your module list is always clean.
Yeah, may comment on that, Ole. And the best practices also, I use this, always keep module purge in my job script and add the specific module there. So it's easy to debug. And then when you start a job, you start the job on clean environment. Absolutely right.
And just one more thing. So many people might not even know what we're talking about when we're saying login scripts. So if you don't worry. Is this for those people that are using those?
Yes. So I purposefully didn't show that, Mike, because we don't recommend it.
Exactly.
Okay, Danya, take it away.
So the job script is the best place to load a module, and before that, module purge is also recommended. Yeah, that's all I wanted to mention. So we have for more than 1 hour now. So we can take a break.